Hi, it's Evan Thornley here again. Now I want to explain to you how, when we are in that difficult situation of there being 5 or 10 times as many properties in your suburb as there are tenants who want a property, how we can reduce the rental price to the level that's necessary to get the property filled before that tenant goes to a competing property, but not give it away for a cent less than the maximum that you could get. The first approach we take is called quick testing. We know that when there's 10 times as many empty properties as there are available tenants, only the properties that aggressively cut their price will even get the interest of tenants, let alone get a tenant into the property paying some rent. But we don't know necessarily exactly what that number is. So what we don't want to do is convince you to reduce your rent too much, get you a tenant, but then leave money on the table that when we could have got more. By the same token, what we don't want to do is move too slowly or too tentatively and have the property remain empty while competing properties move more quickly and get to the price that's necessary to find a tenant. So now let's talk about how we get the best possible price while still getting the property let, because the alternative is a price called zero, which is the property stays empty and we get no rent at all. When we put the listing up online, a lot of people look at lots of different properties online. Typically, if there's interest in a property, 20 or 30 people a day will look at the listing online. But only a small number of those people then get interested and make an inquiry, and a smaller number still actually organise to go and inspect the property. And then only a small proportion of people who inspect a property think it's the right property for them or the best property they've seen, and then they make an application, and then we have to screen those applications and make sure those tenants are acceptable quality tenants, and some of them won't be, and of course some of them will be applying for multiple properties and may take another property before we get them. That's why we have to move quickly. So we quickly test a slightly lower price than what you're used to getting and see whether there's enough tenant interest in the first few days looking at the property to get us through the funnel to get a likely tenant. If that's not the case, as it probably won't be for the first few prices we test, we then drop again, test the interest again, and then keep that process going as we get closer to the sort of price that will actually capture one of these tenants before a competing property does. And we're seeing how the tenants are moving through the funnel the whole time. Obviously, once we're at price levels where there's enough interest that people are looking, clicking on it, inquiring, and then inspecting, and then applying, we don't lower the price any further. We try and capture those tenants at that maximum price. So that's how quick testing works. But with all the talk about pricing in this very difficult market, I want to be very clear. We're not putting less work into the rest of marketing your property. We're putting more work in. If you look at the caliber of the professional photographs we use, look at this photograph versus the one a previous agent used for the same property. Clearly, the approach we've taken here is more attractive. As a consequence, this property got let in half the time that it got let the previous time by another agent with poorer quality photos. Similarly, we now have complete virtual tours of every room in the property so that people can look at the whole property online, because obviously under COVID it's very difficult for them to go out and inspect many properties. So we're again maximising the chances that people are completely familiar with the property, comfortable it has the right rooms in the right places, they can see the whole floor plan and everything, so that we can bring them through the funnel quickly, get them to the property, and then we're pre-processing their application so that we're testing all their financials, we're calling their referees, so that by the time they're inspecting the property, if they like it, we sign them up on the spot because we've pre-approved them. So all of these things get more interest in the top of the funnel through the better photography and virtual tours, and quicker processing through the funnel through pre-qualification, so that we grab the available tenant at the maximum possible price.